Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dmitry back again. In this video, we're gonna check out most recent news that just came out, and I was kind of interested to see that the mortgage rates are climbing up a little bit more because of the frozen rates and whatever then the Fed is not putting down. So, but we're gonna discuss this news. I got my paper, I got my notes going on, so I want to just highlight how it's going to be impacted on the real estate market and just discuss this, because mortgage rates is very, very important concept, a very, very important key on when people buy the housing. So the news article states that the mortgage rates come and climb up to 8%, or going that direction anyway, and the inventory crisis. Homebuyers basically face a tricky situation, experts say. So this whole statement itself in general, so I like the article, and I commenting on the CNBC article that they did. Pretty much a good article, general sense, conditions and things like that. But not the point, but we more like wanted to discuss this situation here. So basically, mortgage rates, right? Obviously, based on the Federal Reserve, or in, like, if you're kind of cooking in this area and you're kind of interested in all that, well, you probably saw, or if you like generally just visiting and understanding on see what's going on here. So I would encourage you, and you're first time on this channel, like and subscribe down below. But nonetheless, shameless plug, the mortgage rates usually in this country, in the United States, they really depend on the Federal Reserve, because there's a prime rate, and then there's a mortgage rate that being established by the local banks, so that if you shop around, you will see different rates, but still the idea is that they put basically a percentage on top of that. So if you're a first home buyer, and we just discussed this whole straight point, so you probably noticed that there's a lot of going on, and the pricing and the mortgage rates kind of come up high, and it's tougher to get a house right now, and we'll get to that later. But I discussed a little bit with the real estate agents, and there was a dynamic definitely that been affected. So nonetheless, so the key points that I read through the article is definitely COVID-19 that hit real hard. It was like really bad situation there. Obviously took a hit, so the market took a hit. Everybody was like the interest of the people to buy a house got a hit, and people who actually providing the finances, providing the financials for the market, for the people, for the buyers, really got hit, and they kind of got scared, and fear came in and all that. So a lot of things, a lot of uncertainty. Actually, to mention the prime example, I just bought my house. I bought it right when it hit, literally few months later, rates skyrocketed. It was a very interesting situation there. Very hard, not hard even, but like a lot of tension, because there was uncertainty, so to speak, because of that. So there was in the COVID, that thing was in the air, the understanding was in the air, knowledge was in the air, and people were kind of like, I guess, mortgage, qualifiers, loan qualifiers. They kind of like, they were kind of very cautious on, indeed, on whom and whom not to, and like qualification part. So I think that would really affected that, and that's what I experienced, and that really brought some fears, brought some misunderstandings, brought some kind of like tension a little bit in terms of providing the finances. But it was the same rate. Obviously, it was like a rate where it was back then, like good old days of 3.5% and things like that. So that's what I snatched. I was able to. But nonetheless, that was a hard deal. Like, there was literally was some there was some nerves and all. But yeah, so the article, it says also, like, it constitutes basically the deal. So COVID-19 brought that in, sort of brought some fears, obviously, as we are in right now. There are other issues obviously going on around the world, but they are not really hard, like super affecting that, but there are some things involved. But in any case, because of the Fed, because of the prime rate, because of that, so it raises up or comes to a point like it goes to a direction of 8%. That's where it's not there, but it's climbing towards it, because like last time I checked, I think it was 7.5, and today is October 12th, 2023. So yeah, that was climbing towards that mark. So in any case, that's a good point to mention that as it climbs down to 8%, obviously it is what it is, but the market is kind of like slowing down a little bit, depending on the area, obviously, depending on the place, depending on the conditions and inventory and all that. To take all the United States, obviously, and that's going to be a different story. The specific markets, it will be really specific, and that's where it's really hard to say like this is definitely not the case. It's going to be hard, like, but in a specific market, let's say in Montgomery County, like in Maryland, also it also depends. So some of the counties stay hot, some of the counties are not so hot. So in terms of like salary and things like that, but it is what it is. And well, the great point of the 8% that I wanted to mention is that it's definitely going to slow down some people, in a sense that purchasing power, in a sense that going in, refinancing, things like that. So really good point that I wanted to mention. I will get to it later, like in the sum up section. Kind of get buyers, or like all the actions that real estate investors or just general buyers they do, it's became them or made them a little bit more cautious in terms of, hey, would I do it, would I not do it? So kind of things slow a little bit down. Yeah, I was like, I was talking to a few real estate agents, and some of them, like majority of people say that there was like kind of 50% real drop in the interest, not interest of like making business, basically making moves and things like that. So refinancing, things like that. So that's really another that's what really happened. Really, another good point that they mentioned in that article, and I really enjoyed it. Like just increase is that the mentioning that is because income, the general income stream didn't really change, so for the people usually, like I work in a like 9 to 5 job, it didn't really change. Companies, they acknowledged it, they saw it, they like, what, okay, but specific in my example, that didn't happen. The rate, the paycheck didn't rise, like in front of, like, even though inflation came on, that just didn't happen. That's pretty much what happened, like, and a lot of people did not experience that, even though there was another news that came out recently, and I want to kind of do it on the same like video about the social security and cost of living adjustment. So they put it in like 3.2%, which is awesome, which is good and really a good relief. However, the inflation is kind of all over the place. Last month it was like somewhere around 3%, somewhere there, and then today I just glanced it was like 4 or something like that. So it's kind of like, what? So cost of living adjustment didn't really help. What the hell? But not really. So and that's just basically what it was. But it was good that the article mentioned that there was no really adjustment in the paycheck. However, if you change the job, I noticed there was a little bit of increase on the specific, like if you're like working in a specific field, let's say, like let's consider like whatever technician, let's say, right, like a lab technician, IT technician, whatever, right? So it's kind of like being in a specific paycheck range. And if you look for like Indeed, LinkedIn, whatever search engine you use for the job searches and things like that, you will notice that there's a little bit higher adjustment. And I'm glad that they start putting the wages and things on the top, like kind of there. And obviously depending also on the experience and things like that. But I think the adjustment had been made on the new opportunities and on the jobs, rather than on the already people having a job. So that's one of the interesting points that they made on that article. So, and that's what I want to share. It's with you. So another point, house bank group, I don't know which group was it, so I got a bunch of them. They sent a letter to Fed saying not to raise rents. What can I comment on that? That's really well, I think a Fed would appreciate the concern of the house market leaders, I guess, in the group and whatever. But in the real world, I don't see Fed being too much of inclined to hear them at this point, because they're really focused on the lowering the interest rates, not the interest rate, lowering the inflation rate. So, and that's where they kind of like put it on pause, put it into consideration, but I'm not sure if what's gonna happen afterwards, and I'm not sure if anything gonna happen, because from the September meeting we already heard that they plan to keep the rates for a few years. Well, not planned, but tentatively, and not certain. Nothing is certain, but they kind of like put a note out, sort of a hint of that possibility that the interest rate will stay as it stay and whatever. So so it's obviously, they definitely said, as the data comes in, we will adjust accordingly. So that's pretty much what they said, right? So, and basically to wrap it all up, and I'm glad that I already right in the end of the video. And so TLDR, mortgage rates coming in to 8% the top 8% level. Yeah, we kind of may have foreseen some of the things, because there was a rates thing going on, and they said that there was a little bit going to be an adjustment upwards, but then it's going to go downwards in a few years from now, and things of that nature. So that's that. Crisis, yeah. Pretty much inventory crisis is across the housing market. Not super crazy. Well, it depends, but some of the markets are building out. So let's say Montgomery and Maryland, there was like some build outs happened, and a few office spaces. And actually, in a specific place that I live in, it's they develop multiple story buildings, and for me, it was kind of like, inventory was, kind of questionable, but it depends on the market, and I didn't analyze the whole entire United States, but it's better to actually consider your market specifically, because as you trade there, you work there and all that. So, home buyer face tricky market. Yeah. I think they always faced it, because because every location is different. Every supply and demand rates in the specific area would be different, and that's why they're still going to be facing the tricky markets because of that, because every location is a little bit different. They also mentioned about first time home buyers being in awe, or being like kind of in a surprise kind of situation with the 8% mortgage rates. Yes, I kind of see that happening, but again, depending on how real estate agents do the strategy, provide the information, and explain the situation, yes, but again, it depends. There's some things that would depend on a real estate agent, the representation of the facts to the buyer. I actually recently I was talking to a few agents, and some of them, they would say, they were kind of like calming down. They weren't really scaring off people and things like that, but they said, this is what happens, this is what happens. So, and buyers would, I straight asked him, I was like, hey, is the buyer and I explain myself, so I'm a real estate investor and things like that. So I straight asked him, is the buyer scared about them market or things like that? He's like, no, they're not scared, they're just more cautious. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way of putting things, because but then I was like, so how's your numbers? How are your numbers in terms of like selling versus versus not, like offers versus no offers, whatever. And he said that I have a specific person in mind. He said from before it was 610 or 6.5, 6 whatever, 8 offers on the table for the specific property. and then the like right now it's about like 2-1 whatever, so you know, like 1-2-3, like the 1-3 offers on the table. So meaning like it pretty much dropped pretty much dropped on the 50, so almost 50%, or maybe that, like maybe somewhere there, because it was definitely seen like with the mortgage rates going up, obviously the interest of getting a specific property will go down because of the financing and things like that. So that's pretty much the formula, kind of goes together of the general you know, interest to get a property because of the financing, right? So that's pretty much what happened, and what happened, that was it. Is things coming in back to normal? Well, it's going to be really depend on the well, Federal Reserve really has some things to do in terms of like either lower or keep it the same, because if they keep it the same, obviously people will adjust, and then obviously will go buy and more buy, you know, like they will keep doing it, but market will readjust. Obviously if they lower, like all of a sudden, then everybody like, oh hey, let's go buy. So inventory will get all over the place. So that's one of my message to you. So you guys, yeah, you know, things are going. So just for your information, and you know how it really affects us in the personal level, on the personal finance, right? You know, depending on your finances, you can buy, you cannot buy, and things like that, but you can always refinance, and either down the line, or well, basically down the line, as long as you can buy it, basically buy it, really. I think it's at this point is, you know, you gotta buy, because you can always refinance if it makes sense. Basically, if the numbers make sense, go for it. If it doesn't, don't. So that's pretty much my I guess message. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Dmitry. I am out. See you in the next video. Like, subscribe down below. So thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it, because it helps out a lot. Thank you guys. See you. Bye bye.